revealed how a billionaire's arrogant son was transformed by the love of a maid he once pushed. Jason Hartley was drowning in gold. The sprawling mansion gleamed under the California sun, a symbol of the wealth built by his father, Thomas Hartley, a name that echoed dominance in the real estate world. At 21 years old, Jason had everything: cars that roared, parties that dazzled, and a life that glittered, but inside, he felt the relentless gnaw of emptiness. In the heart of this luxurious prison, where silence spoke volumes and loneliness was his only companion, he was just a shadow beneath the weight of entitlement. Maria, the maid who weaved through the chaos of this opulent realm, was a burst of light in his dim existence. A single mother, exhausted but unwavering, she moved with purpose, folding laundry and preparing meals with an effortless grace that made Jason take notice if only for fleeting moments. Her laughter was a melody that rang through the halls, a stark contrast to the icy silence he was all too familiar with. Yet, to him, Maria was little more than an invisible hand in a backdrop of wealth, a shadow he rarely regarded. But then came the deep economic crisis, ripping apart the fabric of their lives. News of dollar signs falling like autumn leaves, once a source of pride, now turned ominous. Jason paced his empty room, where walls once echoed with hollow celebrations, anxiously watching his world crumble, one headline at a time. Friends vanished, their loyalty fading like old photographs, revealing the harsh truth of his hollow privilege. In fear and frustration, he confronted Maria one afternoon, his voice laced with spite, unleashing a torrent of ignorance that had forever fueled his wealthy upbringing. "You wouldn't understand," he spat, the venom in his words cutting sharper than a knife. But in her eyes, he saw a flicker of hurt, something deeper than frustration flickering in her gaze. A silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. For a moment, he thought he might shatter under the weight of his arrogance. The realization surged through him, a wave of guilt that swept away his defenses. "I'm sorry," he managed, his voice trembling. That single moment cracked the polished veneer of their unequal lives, revealing the raw humanity beneath. They were worlds apart, yet shared the same air, the breath of resilience. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the heavy reality clouded his thoughts, Jason felt the urge to change, the desperate need to understand life's true value. With each day, he absorbed Maria's wisdom like a sponge, her stories of struggle and laughter, a balm to his weary soul. A friendship kindled in the ashes of their confrontation, illuminating his once sterile existence with rich hues of humanity. But would this connection spark the change he needed, or would he stumble back into the comforting yet numbing embrace of ignorance? With every tick of the clock, the storm of uncertainty loomed closer. Jason stood on the edge of realization, poised between pride and humility. What path would he choose when his world and Maria's collided, igniting a transformation that would redefine both their lives? The question hung in the air like a promise, ready to unfold in the chapters that awaited. Jason woke up to the sound of rain tapping softly against the window, a gentle reminder that the world outside still spun with its own rhythm, indifferent to his internal storm. He sat up and rubbed the sleep from his eyes, the events of the previous weeks swirling in his mind. For the first time in his life, he felt a sense of purpose, a drive to know more, to understand beyond his gilded cage. After a quick shower, he dressed not in the usual designer clothes, but in an old sweatshirt that carried the faint scent of laundry soap and memories. He wanted to be less Jason Hartley, the arrogant son, and more like the person he discovered beneath the surface, one that could connect with Maria on a real level. He found her in the kitchen, her hair tied back, moving with a precision that made mundane tasks look elegant. She was preparing breakfast as the smell of sizzling eggs danced in the air, filling the once sterile mansion with warmth. "Morning, Maria," he said, his tone lighter, more genuine than before. He watched as she turned, surprise etched across her face, quickly replaced by a cautious smile. "Good morning, Jason," she replied, stirring the pan. "You're up early. I wanted to help today." "If you'll let me," he said, the words tumbling out before he could second-guess them. Her eyes widened, and for a brief moment, uncertainty flickered in her gaze. "Help? In the kitchen?" "Sure, I can carry things, chop some vegetables, whatever it takes," he offered, trying to mask his nervousness with enthusiasm. A small laugh escaped her lips, brightening her tired features. "Okay, let us start with the lettuce then." The kitchen buzzed with activity. Engaging in simple tasks felt monumental. Jason fumbled with the knife, and as pieces of lettuce flew off in different directions, Maria chuckled, and he joined in, the jovial sounds breaking down the invisible walls that had separated them for so long. "See? I told you I could help," he joked, wiping the counter, inadvertently causing a small mess in his wake. "You have a way of making simple things complicated," Maria teased back, a sparkle in her eyes he hadn't noticed before. The more they talked, the more Jason realized he was not just learning the basics of kitchen work, he was absorbing Maria's spirit. Her stories of resilience came alive, teachings distilled from the trials of life, woven with humor that made every struggle seem conquerable. "Why did you take this job?" Jason asked after a moment of quiet, his curiosity leading the way. "It's a long story," she chuckled softly, placing a plate of eggs on the table. "But to sum it up, I want to provide for my daughter. Everything I do is for her." "Must be exhausting," he murmured, his heart heavy with admiration. Maria met his gaze, her expression open yet serious. "It is. But it's worth it. Every moment is a step toward a better life for her." As he listened, newly inspired, Jason felt a resolve unfurl within him. This was his chance to change, to step away from the life of arrogance that had pulled him under. Could he be more than just a trusted heir? That evening, amid quiet conversations and laughter, Jason proposed an idea, uncertainty trembling in his voice. "I think I want to help others too, maybe start something for people who've lost everything. Like what we both went through." Maria's eyes widened, and for an instant, he saw hope dance in her thoughts. "You could do that?" "I want to try," he affirmed, determination swiftly replacing doubt. Yet, just as a glimmer of hope ignited his heart, shadows of uncertainty crept in, the fear of failure, the weight of his past, the judgment of his family. Would they understand? What if he stumbled? With questions swirling in his mind, Jason stared into the darkness of the night outside, the rain still falling as if mirroring the change within him. He was poised at the brink of a promising journey, but the road laid ahead would be treacherous. How would he navigate the challenges that awaited? The answer hung in the air, uncertain but thrilling, echoing the promise of transformation, a reality that was suddenly so much richer than the gold that once surrounded him. The next morning, a sliver of sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a gentle glow throughout the kitchen where Maria prepared breakfast. Jason had come to find comfort in this routine. He stuck to his promise of helping her, feeling lighter every time he walked through the door, a part of him blossoming each day they spent together. As he stepped into the kitchen, he stole a glance at Maria, her back turned, an apron tied securely around her waist. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air, mingling with the sweet scent of pancakes on the stove. "Morning," he greeted, his voice buoyed by new resolve. "Morning," she replied, her smile brightening with his presence. "You ready for another round of kitchen chaos?" "Absolutely. What's on the agenda today?" he inquired, rolling up his sleeves like a chef preparing for a culinary battle. "As it turns out, we have a lot of hungry mouths to feed. A big family breakfast today," she explained, glancing over her shoulder. "Think you can handle it?" Jason nodded enthusiastically, but a flicker of anxiety stirred in the pit of his stomach. He wanted to do well for her, but doubts lingered like shadows in the corners of his mind. The morning flew by as they worked side by side, their laughter echoing off the walls. Despite his initial worries, Jason found joy in the simplest tasks, flipping pancakes and chopping fruits while the chatter of family members filled the house. Once they had plated the last of the delicious food, Maria turned to him. "You know, I've never seen you like this before." "Like what?" he asked, wiping an errant pancake crumb from his brow. "Actually, engaged." "It's refreshing," she said, leaning against the counter. Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "You kind of make a good sous chef." "Only a sous chef?" He grinned, nudging her playfully. "I'm aiming to be head chef one day." A sense of pride danced in his chest. They washed the dishes together after the family had finished. Each plate scrubbed felt like a step toward something bigger for both of them. However, just as he found his groove, his phone buzzed insistently in his pocket. Jesse, his father's assistant, was calling. The sound of his father's voice, stern and demanding, echoed in his head. Would he be seeking him out for another meeting, to discuss the family business he had desperately tried to escape? With hesitation, he accepted the call. "Hey, Dad," he said. "Jason. We need to talk. It's urgent." His father's tone was clipped, a stark contrast to the warmth that had filled the kitchen just moments before. "Right now?" Jason's stomach churned. He stole a glance at Maria, her brow furrowing in concern as she washed a plate. "Yes, come to the office in an hour. There are decisions to be made regarding the company, and I need you there." "All right," Jason replied, the word feeling heavy on his tongue. He hung up and turned to Maria, whose eyes were filled with uncertainty. "You okay?" she asked, stepping closer. "I'm not sure. My dad wants me to meet him at the office." "I am not ready for that world," he confessed, the weight of every expectation crashing into him. "Just remember why you're doing this. You want to help others, and that starts with you being true to yourself," she urged, her voice steady and comforting. That he nodded, but unease gnawed at his insides. The conflict between his old life and the new one he longed to cultivate sat like a stone in his heart. As he prepared to leave, Maria grabbed his arm lightly. "Whatever happens, you've already done more than you think. You've changed, Jason. Just take that first step, okay?" His heart swelled with her encouragement, fleeting but powerful. And just before he stepped out the door, he hesitated, a thought forming in his mind. What if he wasn't meant to walk that path? What if this was the moment to step away from the shadows of his past for good? As he took a deep breath, stepping into the drizzle once more, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was at a tipping point. Would he choose stability or stride into the unknown for a chance at a genuine life? With that thought lingering, he headed toward the car waiting to take him back to a world he once thought he belonged to. But now? Now he felt different. And he wasn't alone. The choice was his, but would he make the right one? The rain drizzled lightly as Jason got into the back seat of the town car, the car's leather upholstery cold against his skin. The driver, an older man with graying hair, offered a curt nod in greeting. Jason tried to focus on the passing scenery, neighborhoods lined with trees, shops opening for the day, but his mind was already racing with the impending meeting, replaying every expectation his father would likely throw at him. "Just breathe," he muttered quietly to himself, tapping his leg nervously. The drive to his father's office felt longer than usual, each mile amplifying his anxiety. Minutes ticked by slowly, every second weighed down by uncertainty. He couldn't help but think back to the warmth of Maria's kitchen, the laughter that had filled the air. What was it she said? He reflected, a faint smile tugging at his lips. He could still hear her voice encouraging him, reminding him to be true to himself. That warmth felt light years away now, overshadowed by the looming pressures of his father's world. When they finally arrived, the tall glass building downtown loomed above him, its imposing architecture reflecting the gray sky. A knot tightened in his stomach. Resisting the urge to turn back, he stepped out of the vehicle, inhaling the faint scent of rain mixed with the city's hum. The door swung open with a sharp click, and he stepped into the lobby, leaving the chill of the day behind. The receptionist greeted him with professional detachment. "Mr. Reynolds is expecting you." Jason followed the polished floors down a long corridor, his heart racing with every step. This office had always felt imposing, filled with reminders of expectations and legacy. He could almost hear his father's voice, critiquing him, pushing him to fulfill the family name. As he approached the office door, he hesitated for a moment, recalling Maria's unwavering eyes looking into his, full of trust and warmth. Taking a deep breath, he knocked softly. "Come in." The command was sharp, and Jason opened the door, stepping into the dimly lit office filled with the familiar scent of expensive cigars and polished wood. His father was behind the large mahogany desk, papers fanned out in front of him, sharp eyes piercing through his reading glasses. "Jason." "Sit," his father said without looking up. Jason complied, heart pounding, as he took a seat opposite him. The tension was palpable, and he dreaded the conversation that might unfold. "I've come to some decisions that need your input," his father started, finally looking over the top of his glasses. "We have a critical meeting with investors next week. I need you prepared." "Prepared for what?" Jason asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "To discuss the merger. You're going to take charge. They need to see you as the future of this company," his father stated, leaning in, his voice steady but demanding. "But Dad, I don't want to be that person. I've been working on," he stumbled, choosing his words carefully. "I've been working on a different path. One that can really make a difference for people." His father's expression hardened, eyebrows drawing together. "This is not a choice, Jason. You can't run away from who you are." "I'm not running away. I just want to explore what I care about, what matters." Jason shot back, the fire igniting in him as conflict illuminated the space between them. The silence that followed was thick, a bated breath hanging in the air. Jason could feel the tension pulsing, but he knew he was at a crossroads. "What if I told you I have a chance to do something meaningful?" he said softly, heart pounding. "Something that's not just about money or the family name but about giving back." His father's gaze narrowed. "And at what cost, Jason? You think you can just walk away from this?" Jason felt a rush of defiance, spurred by thoughts of Maria and their laughter. "Maybe the real cost is staying where I don't belong." His father's expression was a mixture of disbelief and anger, a storm brewing behind his eyes. Jason's heart pounded louder now, uncertainty creeping back in. Could he truly step away from this life? What awaited him after such a bold decision? The air crackled with anticipation as he awaited an answer, not just from his father, but from himself. Was he ready to let go of everything he'd known to step into a life molded by his own choices, or would fear tie him down? As the silence lingered, Jason realized the moment of truth was now. And the longer he hesitated, the more the future would fade into uncertainty. A heavy stillness settled in the room, stretching seconds into what felt like an eternity. Jason caught a flicker of confusion in his father's eyes, a mix of frustration and something else, perhaps fear or disappointment. "Jason, you're not thinking straight," his father said at last, his voice edged with disbelief. "You're the only heir. This company is your birthright. You can't just toss it aside like it's nothing." The word stung. Jason could feel the weight of those expectations pressing down on him, like a thick, suffocating blanket. "But it is nothing to me," he replied, his voice filled with a sudden fervor. "All I ever wanted was to be myself. To follow my own path. I'm not you, Dad." The silence exploded into chaos as his father slammed his hands on the table, causing papers to scatter. "And what do you think that path is?" he shot back, eyes blazing. "Playing the guitar in some dive bar? Traveling the world without a plan? I don't need a plan if I'm following my heart. I want to make a difference that matters, not just add another line to some family ledger," Jason said, his voice rising as he leaned forward, desperate for his father to understand. For a fleeting moment, a quiet suffused the air. Jason's chest heaved with emotion, while his father's features softened slightly as he watched his son wrestle with his truth. But then the hardness returned, like the crack of a snapping twig. "You're being naive. The world doesn't bend to our ideals. You'll regret this," he warned, his voice low and grave. His heart raced at that thought. Regret. Wasn't that the ultimate fear? He thought of Maria then, how she had painted the world with colors he'd never seen before, the passion in her voice, the fire in her laughter. She had given him the courage to dream. "I can't live for someone else's dreams anymore," he whispered, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "I can't be someone I'm not." The tension coiled tighter, a rubber band ready to snap. Jason looked into his father's eyes, searching for a glimmer of understanding, but all he found was disappointment. He felt like a weight was pulling him down, the pull of legacy, of obligation. Yet deep inside him, a voice whispered, urging him to stand firm against that weight. "What am I really afraid of?" Jason thought, uncertainty gnawing at his stomach. The thought of stepping into the unknown sent chills through him. Yet staying in this familiar place, the very essence of his father's world, felt like death. "Jason, listen to me," his father said, a softer tone creeping into his voice. "This is more than just family duty. It's about your future. Do you really want to throw it away for a fleeting moment of impulsiveness?" Jason took a breath, shaking his head. "It's not impulsive if it's been sitting with me for so long. I need to try. I need to know who I can be outside of you." He suddenly felt a wave of resolve wash over him. "I can't live daily worrying about your legacy. I need to create my own." His father's face fell, that mix of disbelief and heartbreak painted across his features. "Then it sounds like you've made your choice," he said quietly, the sting of finality sweetened with sadness. Jason's heart raced with both dread and relief. What was left unsaid hung in the air like a question he didn't know how to ask. If he walked away, how would this family dynamic change? Would anything ever be the same again? Before he could explore those thoughts, his father stood abruptly, signaling the end of the conversation. "You're wrong, Jason. You can't escape this. You're one of us." "But am I?" he whispered, the words barely audible. As he stood to leave, every step felt heavier than the last, each one pulling him further away from a life he was told was his destiny. And yet, deep within him, he felt the flicker of possibility start to ignite. Would he find the courage to pursue his truth? Could this really be the beginning of something extraordinary, or merely the start of a more painful reality? Alone in the hallway, Jason paused, heart pounding wildly as a new thought hit him, bright and clear. What if he reached out to Maria? Would she understand? Would she help him find the path he was desperate to carve out for himself? The haunting echo of that question lingered as he stepped out into the muted rain, the world outside now feeling impossibly vast and inviting. The unknown waited for him, filled with uncertainty and hope. Was he brave enough to embrace it? The rain drizzled softly as Jason stepped into the street, the sound of water tapping on asphalt grounding him. He pulled the collar of his jacket up against the chill, his mind racing. Each drop seemed a reminder, chasing away remnants of the confrontation and leaving behind clarity. With every step he took, the weight of his father's disappointment pressed down like an anchor. Yet, he felt lighter, more vibrant as he put distance between himself and the looming expectations of his past. The city buzzed with life around him, cars honking, people chatting, a street musician strumming a gentle melody just ahead. An odd sense of freedom filled his chest, mingling with a blend of fear and excitement. For all those years, he had felt like a puppet, strings pulled by the authority of the family name. Now, with no clear path ahead, he found himself craving the freedom to explore. He remembered Maria, her laughter like a burst of sunlight that cut through gray days. As he walked, his resolve began to solidify. He needed to reach out to her, not just for guidance but for connection. He pulled out his phone and stared at the screen, the messages from her bright and inviting. How long had it been? 2 months. A lifetime? Gripped by a sudden impulse, he typed out a quick message. Hey, Maria. Can we meet? I really need to talk to you. He hit send before he could second-guess himself. The butterflies in his stomach danced wildly. Would she answer? Would she understand? While he waited, he turned his attention to the sights around him. A little girl tossed a coin into a fountain, her mother beaming with pride. An elderly couple strolled hand in hand, quiet joy radiating from them. A shopkeeper laughed as she joked with a customer. Jason felt a pang of longing. These were the moments he wanted to be part of, the kind of life that filled him with warmth. Suddenly, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, heart racing as he read Maria's reply, "Of course. I'm at the cafe on 5th. See you soon." Relief washed over him, mingling with growing anticipation. As he made his way toward the cafe, he practiced what he wanted to say. That he was scared, confused, and yearning for something real. He wanted to share with her the turmoil he faced, the unwillingness to live a life dictated by others. When he reached the cafe, a charming little place with a red awning and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee spilling into the street, he spotted Maria seated in the corner, her dark curls framing a thoughtful expression. She looked up, and their eyes locked. Seeing her brought a rush of warmth to Jason's heart. She smiled soft, encouraging, and he felt a sense of homecoming in that smile. As he settled across from her, the familiar warmth spread through him. He knew, in that moment, that she would help him navigate this maze of choices. He spotted a hint of concern in her eyes as she leaned closer, waiting for him to speak. "Hey, he started, his voice shaky but grew stronger with determination. This was at the turning point. I don't know how to explain what happened. Would he finally unveil his tangled emotions? Would she guide him through the fear of being truly himself? The question hung in the air, waiting for the answer that could change everything. What would unfold in this moment between them? Jason took a deep breath, the familiar comfort of the cafe wrapping around him like a soft blanket. As he looked into Maria's eyes, the world outside faded into a blur. He had always known Maria to be steady, a rock amidst his life's chaos. But this time, he needed to be honest, to peel back the layers he'd been hiding behind. "I feel trapped," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "My father's expectations, it's suffocating. I don't want to be him, but I don't know how to break free." Maria's brow furrowed slightly, her eyes reflecting concern and understanding. "It's okay, Jason. You're not alone in this," she said softly. "But you have to decide what you truly want. What do you want for yourself?" Her question struck a chord deep within him. He had spent countless hours trying to fit into the mold his father had crafted. Moments like these, his late-night wanderings, the quiet introspection, had started feeling like something more, something he desperately craved. "I want to explore," he admitted, almost shyly. "I want to see the world beyond the walls of our family." "That's a start," she said, a warm smile breaking through her solemnity. "But exploration can mean more than just places. It can also mean understanding yourself." Jason chuckled, a nervous laugh that felt foreign to him. "Understanding myself? What if I don't like what I find?" "Then you change it," Maria replied, leaning in closer, her voice urgent but gentle. "You have the power to redefine your story. Think of it like this coffee," she gestured towards the steaming cup before them. "You take a sip, and if it's too bitter, you add some sugar until it's just right." He could feel the heat creeping up his neck, the tension in his shoulders easing with each passing moment. Maria was right. There was so much more to life than the pathways he had been pushed toward. It was time to taste the sweetness for a while. "Remember what we used to do?" she asked playfully, pulling him from his thoughts. "We'd go on spontaneous adventures, take impromptu road trips with no destination in mind. We chased sunsets and chased dreams." Her reminder sent a rush of warmth through him. "I miss those days," he said, a grin spreading across his face. It's not too late to find them again. Maria's eyes sparkled as she spoke, full of hope. Maybe it starts with a small step. What's one thing you've always wanted to do but never had the courage to try? The question hung in the air, heavy with promise. Jason thought back to his childhood dreams, traveling to distant lands, making art, living without fear of judgment. I want to go to Italy, he exclaimed suddenly. To see the art, the colors. To just live for a bit. Maria beamed at him, and to Jason, that smile felt brighter than any city skyline. Then go. Take that leap. I'll help you plan it if you want. I can't just up and leave, he started, the old apprehensions creeping in again. Why not? You deserve happiness too, Jason. Sometimes you need to step back and see life from a different angle. Her voice was firm, yet reassuring. As he gazed into her eyes, Jason felt a swell of determination. Maybe he could take that leap. The weight of his father's expectations felt lighter. Inspired by Maria's belief in him, Jason realized he was ready to chase more than sunsets. He wanted to chase a life full of authenticity. In that moment of clarity, something shifted inside him. For the first time in years, he felt the stirrings of hope, but just as he wanted to share this newfound determination, Maria's phone buzzed violently, slicing through their conversation. She grabbed it, her brow knitting as she read the screen. I have to take this. Her voice faltered, and her smile faded, leaving an uncertain tension hanging in the air. Jason's heart sank. Would this moment slip through his fingers before he could grasp it? Was he ready to face the uncertainty of his future without her support? The cafe around him seemed to dim, shadows creeping in between the thoughts swirling in his mind. Wait, Maria, he called out, a sudden urgency rising in his chest. I'm ready to try. Just, don't go yet. But he could already see that she was distracted, her attention drifting. What would she say when she returned? Would she still see the determination in him? As the weight of question and possibility pressed in, he tried to hold on to the hope he had just found. The moment could change everything. Would it all feel real, or was it just another fleeting dream? Jason knew one thing for sure: it was time to step into the unknown. What awaited him on the other side of this transformation? Jason's heart pounded in his chest as he watched Maria turn her back to him, her focus now consumed by the buzzing phone. The air around him felt thick with uncertainty, each second stretching into an eternity. He wanted to scream, to reach across the table and shake her back to the moment they had just shared, but he didn't want to come off as needy or desperate. Yet here he was, a coward clinging to the remnants of courage he had just discovered. He leaned back in his chair, trying to mask the turmoil within himself. The cafe buzzed with life around him, baristas calling out orders, friends laughing, couples whispering sweet nothings, but all Jason could feel was the weight of an overwhelming decision hanging in the air. If he didn't take that leap now, would it ever happen? Maria's side of the conversation blurred into a quiet hum as he wrestled with his thoughts. Could he really leave everything behind? The cities he had always known? The family name that weighed heavily on him? I'll call you back, Maria said abruptly, her voice breaking through his reverie. The warmth that had shone in her eyes moments earlier was now overshadowed by concern as she returned to their table. What's wrong? He asked, anxiety creeping into his voice. Is everything okay? It's my mom, Maria replied, running a hand through her hair, her expression serious. She has some health issues. I need to go see her. Something twisted inside Jason. He hadn't even thought about Maria's own struggles in his moment of discovery. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Guilt washed over him like a cold wave. One revelation after another. First the fear of his own future and now the urgency of her present. I'll be fine. It's just a little stressful, she said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. But it makes me think. It makes me realize how important it is to reach for what we want. There it was again, the encouragement he cherished. Even now, when she had so much on her plate, Maria was pushing him to pursue his dreams. It both inspired and filled him with frustration. How could he sit back and ponder his future when hers seemed so precarious? "Maria," he said, desperation fueling his voice. "I want to go to Italy, but if you need to handle this, I can wait. We'll figure it out later. You've got to take care of you first." Her eyes widened, a flicker of surprise brightened them for just a heartbeat. A fleeting moment of relief washed over her face, and then it faded, replaced again by the weight of her responsibility. "Jason, I know you want this, and it's important. But some things can't wait." "You're right," he replied, his mind racing. "But I'm not sure I can do this without you. I don't want to face the world alone." Maria leaned closer, the softness in her eyes comforting yet penetrating. "You have to trust that you're capable of more than you think. This is your chance, Jason. Don't let fear hold you back when opportunity is all around you." He could see it in her face, she was begging him to be brave, and something in that moment clicked. He had concealed himself in fear for so long, and here was Maria, giving him the push he needed. "What if she held up a hand, catching his eye? You don't need to wait for me. If you can feel it in your heart, go. Live your life. I'll be here cheering you on." The world around them faded to a dull roar as he processed her words. It was like stepping onto a precipice with no assurance of what lay ahead. Fear gnawed at him, but it was accompanied by a growing sense of freedom. Could he truly seek the adventure he craved, even if things were uncertain? All this time, he allowed his father's expectations to imprison him, yet Maria's belief was starting to unlock the chains. But the missed connection haunted him. He took a deep breath, ready to finally share everything he had held back when he felt a familiar tug in his heartstrings. "I don't want this dream to be something I do without you, though." Maria's phone buzzed again, and this time, she frowned deeply. "I have to take this. I'm sorry." He swallowed hard, feeling the hope flicker, but he couldn't let that deter him. Her back was to him again, and in that moment of retreat, he realized he was standing at a crossroads. Would he chase after his dreams or wait in uncertainty? Life was full of unexpected turns, he had to grab onto hope. As he gathered his thoughts, he felt the weight of her words sitting heavy but liberating. Sometimes you had to leap. The truth proclaimed itself, he couldn't hold back any longer. "Maria!" He called out, knowing that they both needed to face down the unknown, but would it lead to freedom for either of them? What awaited him on this journey, the leap of faith or the heart's silent denial? Maria turned around, her phone still pressed against her ear, eyes wide with surprise. "What?" she mouthed, clearly startled. She finished her call, a hint of urgency in her voice. "I'll call you back later," and hung up. "Jason, what is it?" He took a steadying breath. The words felt heavy on his tongue, but the fire inside him ignited his courage. "I'm tired of waiting for the right moment. I want to go after my dreams, Maria. I want to go to Italy, and I want to do it for both of us. But I don't want this to be a dream I chase alone." Her expression shifted, a flicker of something hope? Fear? He couldn't quite read it, but he could see it was as vulnerable as his own. "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe I should go now, to start this journey, but I don't want you to feel like I'm leaving you behind. I can't imagine finding the thing that sparks within me and not being able to share it with you." The corners of her mouth twitched, but sadness clouded her eyes. "Jason, you have to live your life. Don't let my situation drag you down. I care about you too much for that." "Maybe I'm tired of carrying expectations that don't belong to me," he said, his voice rising. "Maybe I'm ready to break free." Silence hung in the air. A young couple at a nearby table looked up, sensing the intensity. The warm glow of the cafe's lighting couldn't disguise the tension wrapping around them like a heavy cloak. Maria's gaze softened, and she reached out, placing her hand on his. "You really mean that?" Absolutely. But he seemed to lose his momentum, the weight of his inheritance pressing down even harder. I don't want to just leave. I want to include you. I want us to explore everything. She sighed, her hand slipping away as she leaned back, defensively. You have to decide what matters more. My mom needs me. I can't chase dreams right now. A lump formed in his throat. And I can't grow up in my dad's shadow any longer. The pressure, it's suffocating. I just need a sign that I'm going in the right direction. Then go, Maria said softly, her tone resolute. Live. Experience. You deserve your own journey. I won't forget you. I can't forget you. And there it was, the crack in the dam. That raw emotion, that truth swelled within him. Suddenly, the cafe felt different, smaller, more intimate. What if I don't make it? He asked, his fear spilling out. What if I fail? Maria paused, considering. You might, but you might not. What matters is that you tried. You owe it to yourself. Jason closed his eyes, the world tuning out, as he wrestled with his fears. He thought of all they had shared, the laughter, the hopes, the impossible dreams that felt achingly close whenever she was near. If I leave now, if I really do this, I'll always carry a part of you with me. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. And I'll always carry a part of you with me. Just promise me that wherever you go, you'll be true to yourself. He nodded, feeling both liberated and terrified. What lay beyond this moment? A world filled with promise? Or a void of loneliness? Maria stood up suddenly, her phone buzzing again, her brow furrowing. I really must go, Jason. I have to check on my mom. The finality in her voice hit him like a punch. Wait! He shouted, scrambling out of his chair. Can we meet again before you leave? Maybe in a week? We could, of course, she said, a bright smile breaking through, but sadness lingered in her eyes. No matter what, we're in this together. As she turned to walk away, Jason's heart raced again, but this time it was different, fueled by hope and every moment they shared. He knew he had to push forward. With a deep breath, he stepped out of the cafe and onto the street, feeling the pulse of life energizing him. Choices lay ahead, new possibilities stretching out before him like a road that had been waiting to be traveled. But with each step, his heart whispered a question he couldn't ignore. Would embarking on this journey lead him home or to an uncharted territory he wouldn't know how to navigate? With every moment, he felt the urgency of his decision. Was everything finally about to change, or would he get lost in the choices before him? Days stretched into a week as Jason prepared for his journey. The thought of Italy filled him with a blend of anticipation and nerves. It was the promise of exploration, fresh beginnings, and a chance to redefine who he was. But amidst the excitement, a veil of worry lingered. Each time he thought of Maria, the way she'd supported him through his awakening, he felt a pang of longing. Would she be okay? The night before his departure, he found himself in the familiar confines of his room, staring out at the skyline of Los Angeles. Underneath the glimmer of city lights, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. His life was changing, but it was Maria who had set this transformation in motion. She had helped him see beyond the life he had always known, pushing him to embrace his true self. As if in response, his phone vibrated. Hey Jay. Can we meet one last time before you leave? It was Maria. He grabbed his coat, excitement rushing in. They met at a small park nearby, illuminated by the glow of street lamps. When he spotted her sitting on a bench, the moonlight danced across her face, making her look almost ethereal. There, in the beautiful stillness of the night, everything fell into place. Hey, she greeted softly, a hint of a smile on her lips. Hey, he chuckled, a nervous flutter in his chest. I almost can't believe I'm finally doing this. Are you excited? She asked. Yeah. It feels unreal, he admitted, his heart racing. But part of me, he hesitated, taking a deep breath to gather his thoughts. Part of me is scared. Fear is natural, Jason. It's what you do with that fear that matters, Maria reassured, her sincerity wrapping around him like a warm embrace. This is your time. You're right, he said, his gaze growing serious. You've been my anchor through all of this. I want to share this journey with you, even if you're not physically there. Maria's smile faltered for a heartbeat. I'll always be with you, okay? Just a message away, she reminded, her voice filled with warmth. And you'll have so much to tell me. All your adventures. Each moment matters. As he looked into her eyes, he felt a blend of determination and openness blossom within him. I think I can do this, he said, the revelation pouring out of him. I don't have to carry my father's legacy, I can create my own. A tear glistened in her eye, and he reached out to squeeze her hand. Their connection felt more profound than ever. Promise me something, Maria said, holding his gaze. Promise me you'll be true to yourself, even when it gets hard. Don't lose sight of who you are. You're more than just a name. I promise, he vowed, feeling the weight behind those words. And when I return, I want to tell me all about it. She interrupted, a playful spark igniting in her eyes. Jason laughed. It felt good to share this lightness. No pressure, right? None at all. I'm excited to see who you become, she replied, leaning closer, softening the moment. As they stood, ready to part, Jason took a deep breath, overwhelmed by a surge of gratitude. Maria had changed him. He realized that the love they shared was an everlasting bond, a force that had strengthened him in ways he could never have imagined. I'll miss you, Jason confessed, his voice thick with emotion. I'll miss you too, Maria replied, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. With a lingering embrace, they found comfort in each other, both buoyed by the promise of their next chapter. As Jason stepped away, something inside him solidified. He was leaving a part of himself behind, true, but he was also carrying Maria with him. He would step into the vibrant streets of Italy, explore the art, the history, and every blossom of life that awaited. Days turned into weeks on his journey, each moment building into memories he'd cherish forever. He filled his days with painting, singing, and embracing the unknown wholeheartedly. He explored everything he had kept locked away, his dreams, his passions, the heart of who he was, and Maria's spirit guided him every step of the way. Finally, as he strolled through the streets of Florence under a soft golden sun, he felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. It was a sweet reminder of the conversations they'd shared, the laughter they had exchanged. Jason pulled out his phone and sent Maria a quick update, sharing photos and thoughts, and soon enough her response lit up his screen, filling him with joy. He realized then that he had blossomed into the person he always wanted to be, unapologetically embracing the beauty life had to offer. And with each sunrise in Italy, Jason knew a piece of home awaited him, the understanding that true wealth was not measured in gold or legacy, but in the connections forged and the gifts shared with those who believed in you. As for Maria, she too found strength in the distance, nurturing her relationship with herself, knowing that love, true love, could transcend any barriers. Their stories would forever intertwine, woven together by the experiences that thrived within them. In the quiet embrace of the evening, Jason whispered a promise to the winds. I will carry this love with me, always. And he would, inside his heart, her laughter echoing, becoming a vital part of his adventurous journey ahead. Now, this is your moment to embrace transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. I want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.